On December 5, 1945, just months after the end of World War II, a group of young U.S. Navy pilots prepared for what should have been an ordinary training exercise. The war was over, peace had returned, and countless servicemen were adjusting to a new world. Yet, on that winter afternoon in Florida, history would record an event so strange that it would spark legends lasting nearly 80 years. The squadron was known as Flight 19. It consisted of 5 Grumman TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, each flown by men in their early 20s, with an instructor at the lead. These planes were rugged, reliable, and proven in the Pacific theater of the war. Now, in peacetime, they were used to train the next generation of naval aviators. 14 men climbed into the cockpits that day, led by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, an experienced flight instructor with more than 2,500 hours of flight time. The mission was simple: fly east over the Atlantic, conduct a bombing practice, navigate a triangular route, and then return to Fort Lauderdale. It was a routine drill, the kind performed dozens of times each week. None of the men had any reason to believe this flight would be any different. At 2:10 p.m., the engines roared to life, and the planes lifted off the runway, climbing into the bright Florida sky. For the first hour, everything proceeded as planned. The Avengers flew in formation, their shadows gliding over the sparkling blue waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Radio operators heard the usual updates: coordinates, headings, and standard check-ins. But around 3:40 p.m., something began to go wrong. Lieutenant Taylor's voice broke through the static. "This is FT-28. Both of my compasses are out. I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida." His tone was strained, uncertain. The planes were not where they thought they were. The young trainees flying alongside Taylor grew restless. One of them was overheard saying, "If we just fly west, we'll get home." Flying west would almost certainly bring them back to the Florida coastline. But Taylor disagreed. He believed they were over the Keys and ordered the flight northeast, convinced this would lead them home. It was a fatal error. In reality, they were nowhere near the Keys. They were far out over the open Atlantic. With each passing minute, they drifted further from land, deeper into danger. As the afternoon faded, the weather worsened. Winds rose, clouds thickened, and the sun sank lower on the horizon. The men's voices over the radio revealed rising panic. At one point, Taylor said, "We can't find land. Everything looks strange. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." The operators on the ground tried desperately to redirect them, urging them west, but their words were lost in the static. For more than 3 hours, they circled, burning through their fuel. Their final moments were filled with desperation. At 6:20 p.m., the last transmission was heard. "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." Then silence. Back at Fort Lauderdale, alarm bells rang. The Navy immediately scrambled a search and rescue operation. One of the first responders was a PBM Mariner flying boat carrying 13 crewmen, designed for long search missions over the sea. It took off shortly after 7 p.m., but just 20 minutes later, it too vanished. A tanker sailing in the area reported a sudden flash of fire in the night sky and flames on the water. Investigators later concluded that the Mariner likely exploded in midair, a tragedy that claimed 13 more lives. By the next morning, the largest search and rescue operation in peacetime history was underway. More than 300 boats, aircraft, and thousands of personnel scoured the waters from Florida to the Bahamas. For days they searched, but there was nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no oil slicks. It was as if 27 men had been erased from existence. The Navy's official investigation was inconclusive. At first, they blamed Lieutenant Taylor, suggesting he had become disoriented and led his men astray. But eventually, the report softened, concluding the case was simply cause unknown. The mystery of Flight 19 became the cornerstone of the legend we now know as the Bermuda Triangle, the area between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Stories of vanished ships and planes had existed before, but Flight 19's disappearance in the age of modern aviation cemented the triangle as a place of danger and superstition. Over the years, countless theories have tried to explain what happened. The most rational explanation is navigational error. Taylor's compass failure, combined with worsening weather, sealed their fate. The men likely ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. Yet, the Atlantic has never surrendered its proof. With all our technology, no confirmed wreckage of Flight 19 has ever been found. Other theories are more unusual. Some point to rogue waves, massive, unexpected walls of water capable of swallowing planes and ships whole. Others suggest unusual magnetic fields disrupted instruments, a phenomenon often linked to the Bermuda Triangle's reputation. And of course, there are the more fantastic ideas. Government cover-ups, secret weapons tests, time warps, and even alien abduction. But beyond the theories, one truth remains. 27 men never came home. For their families, the mystery was not about triangles, anomalies, or conspiracies. It was about fathers, sons, and brothers who vanished on what should have been a simple training mission. The story of Flight 19 has been retold in books, films, and documentaries. It was even dramatized in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Flight 19 reappears as if plucked from time itself. But no matter how many times the story is told, the outcome remains the same. The Atlantic keeps her secret. Nearly 80 years later, Flight 19 is still one of aviation's greatest mysteries. The disappearance reminds us how vast, unpredictable, and unforgiving the ocean really is. Even in an age of modern navigation and satellites, the sea has the power to conceal its secrets for eternity. And so, the legend lives on. Was it human error, a violent storm, or something beyond explanation? Until the wreckage is found, the truth will remain hidden beneath the waves. Flight 19 is not just a story of lost planes. It is a haunting reminder of how fragile life is when confronted with the unknown. On December 5, 1945, 5 planes took off from Florida. A rescue plane followed shortly after. None of them ever returned. 27 men disappeared into the Atlantic, and with them, a mystery that still echoes across history. The mystery of Flight 19.